welcome to another Tonic craft kit unboxing video. This one is for kit number 44, which I think is either going to be called Santa's Sentiments or Santa's Workshop, because this is actually based on the second colour trend for 2021 from Tonic, which is the Santa's Workshop colour trend, although the die set and stamp set are basically just sentiments, so I'm not 100% sure on the name, but whatever the name is, it'll be the name of the video, so you know the exact name of the kit. But it's a fantastic kit this month. I really love this colour trend. It is really like traditional Christmas colours, but obviously you can incorporate the reds and greens and stuff into other cards throughout the year as well. But I think it is, I mean, if you're struggling to make your Christmas cards this year, or you're kind of thinking about what sort of colour scheme you want to use for them, or, you know, however you're going to want to make them, I think this colour trend of the Santa's Workshop is a fantastic one for getting you like kick-started with all of your Christmas card making, and the dies and stamps in this month's kit as well are fantastic for kind of quick and simple Christmas cards, or you can use lots of the stamps to like build up different backgrounds as well to make them a little bit more in-depth too. So let's get on with the unboxing. So we've got everything in this little bag. I'll open it up and tip it out and then I'll start talking, because otherwise it'll be a bit crunkly. Okay, so you can see we've got lots of goodies in this month's kit. So there's a couple of things. There's one definitely exclusive and one thing that I think is an exclusive, but I'm not 100% sure. And then we've also got some extra Craft Perfect things as well. So firstly, we have a packet of 10 brown craft US A2 sized card blanks and envelopes. So this is just a tiny bit wider and a tiny bit shorter than an A6 card for the UK if you're used to that kind of size of card. But it goes really nicely with these sentiments, or also with any of the other, you know, like in previous kits or stamp clubs and things, we've had rectangles, like rectangle dies, like layering dies, or to create frames and stuff. They're all kind of sized to work with an A2 kind of card rather than an A6 kind of card. So they will be the perfect proportions to go on these card blanks if you have any of them. You could use them, you know, like to cut different mats and layers and things, and mount the sentiments from this month's kit onto and stuff as well. But if you do only have A6 kind of layering dies, you can easily add a slightly smaller one on and trim off the side of the card, and then you can still use the A2 envelope to put it in as well. It doesn't really matter if the card's a little bit narrower. So a nice versatile pack of cards. And brown craft cards, I mean, I always stick to white. You can probably tell from my videos that I'm always using a white card blank, but it is quite nice to have craft card blanks in your stash, because if you like doing vintage cards, or you just want to do an experiment with a more like a vintage style using browns and golds and all that kind of stuff, craft card is really perfect to then map that kind of thing onto, because it's not sort of stark with the white card blank. But also it goes fantastically with this colour trend, like all the colours in the kit. It looks really lovely together. I have to admit I was a bit dubious about using craft card blanks because I'm so used to using white ones. But I do really love the way the cards turned out. But also, if you don't like using a craft card blank, you can just use the card from these as well. And you can keep all of the envelopes, maybe use them to put die cuts in that you've got, like leftover die cuts, or maybe you are going to like batch make your Christmas cards and you want to get all of your sentiments pre-cut out ready. You could label them with what the sentiment is, die cut loads of them while you're watching the telly, put them all in the envelope and keep them. Or you could also use the envelopes to create some kind of memory book as well. There's loads of different ways of attaching envelopes together to create sort of pocket memory albums that you can use the actual envelope as like a pocket to put photographs and stuff in. And this should be quite a nice size for photographs, I think. Maybe not an actual 4x6 photograph, but often these days they're like, do you want to crop your photo? And it usually makes it slightly less than 6 inches long, so that kind of photo would probably fit really nicely in these envelopes. But anyway, you're getting a packet of 10 craft card blanks and envelopes in this month's kit, and they're really good GSM as well. They're actually a 300 GSM card, and it's a really nice craft, and it does die cut nicely as well, so you can obviously just cut into the card blanks to cut some of your sentiments out as well, which is really nice. So you get those. Then, as with all of the Tonic colour trends, they're always bringing out the 6x6 pads of paper now, and whenever we have a kit that's based on a colour trend, they really kindly give us the 6x6 pattern paper pad. So again, if you're thinking about your Christmas cards and stuff, think of like how many cards you can get out of just this pattern paper sheet. I mean, if you look at the sort of size comparison, you'd still have a few little scraps left to do something else with, but you could easily instantly cover all 10 of your cards with this paper and still have 14 sheets and some scraps left, if you wanted to do quick and simple cards just using those card blanks as well. But with one of these 6x6 pads, you get 24 sheets in there, and then there are 8 different designs, and there's 6 of each, but they're double-sided. So you get 6 sheets of 4 designs, but then the other design is on the back of those 6 sheets, if that makes any sense. But I will show you an up-close look at what all of the designs look like, and they go perfectly with all the colours from the colour trend with all the Nouveau kind of products. And we've got a nice selection of Nouveau products in this kit as well, which is really good. So the first one is kind of like, to me, a sort of traditional candy cane, where you've got the larger red stripe, the narrower green stripe, and then the white as well, which is really, really pretty. And I did on one of my cards, actually, I stamped a whole background, and then I just cut really thin strips of this, just to add like extra accents of colour up and down the card as well. Or if you're going to do the kind of backgrounds that I'm really into, where you use a double-sided adhesive sheet and then you like use all of your leftover scraps of cardstock and do the thin strips, this kind of paper has got a lovely pattern, you know, running across it, and even when it's in a thin strip, so that'll work really nicely for that kind of technique too. Then on the back of this sheet of paper, we've got a lovely dainty kind of pattern that's got 2 different sizes of 5-pointed red stars and a tiny little 4-pointed red star, and then you've also got 2 different sizes of dark green dots and then the same 4-pointed green star as well. So it's a really lovely, subtle, scattered kind of a background that you could use some of the stamps from the stamp set to kind of add to this as well, because you're actually getting a little sample of embossing powder in this kit as well, so you could then have embossed little patterns within this design too, just to jazz it up a little bit. The next piece of paper is a gorgeous deep green with a lovely random snowflake design on it. You've got 3 different sizes of those intricate snowflakes and then a couple of different sizes of little white dots to fill in the background, but it's a really lovely non-uniform kind of design. So however you cut it, you don't have to sort of think about you know, like lining the pattern up so that it doesn't look odd that you've chopped off more of it on one side than the other. If you work a lot with pattern paper, I'm sure you'll know what I mean. It's most like noticeable when you're using like a gingham pattern and you've got like a larger bit of one colour on one side than the other side. But when it's a nice random overall pattern like this, you don't really have to worry about that kind of thing. So saying that, this kind of pattern paper, if you've got any previous year's 3D boxes that were like Christmas themed, or any of the boxes that have been in Designer's Choice and kits and everything, you could use papers like this to cut the patterned panels to go on the boxes as well, to give them a gorgeous like Christmas theme. Then the back of this paper is a really lovely uniform pattern. So this is uniform, it kind of reminds me of Connect 4, that kind of feel, the way it's sort of spaced out in a grid, but it's alternating red and green dots on there, which you could actually join up. I mean, I reckon you could draw a Christmas tree in this. Yeah, it's the right kind of grid. You could actually like join up some of the green dots and make a Christmas tree design in there. You could even like poke through the dots and do a bit of sewing through them as well. You can obviously add Nouveau drops on top of them. They're the perfect placements for Nouveau drops as well. So again, lots of different ways to use different papers, and this is the kind of paper that I was saying about, you know, like lining up your cutting. Obviously on this kind of paper you'd want to cut between, you know, a row of dots, and it wouldn't be too bad because you could just cut between a row of dots on the 2 different sides and it wouldn't matter if the dots are different. But yeah, you know what I mean if you use pattern paper a lot. Then the next design is this gorgeous like candy stripe sort of design, similar to the first one, but it is just red stripes on this one. So it's like a wide red stripe and a narrow red stripe on a white background, which is really lovely. And on the back of this one, I love this design. It's kind of like a really modern take on a Christmas tree, because it's just loads of light and dark equilateral triangles on top of each other, and then they've got like a faux sewn line down the middle of them, like the little faux stitching. So it almost looks like they're 3D little triangles of cardstock, and then someone has sewn directly down the centre of them to give this gorgeous look, which again is another idea. for a card that you might want to do. You could like literally take a block of 3 of these, amplify it up into a larger triangle and sew down it, and you've got some gorgeous cardstock in this kit that would look perfect for a card like that as well. So you can actually get ideas for cards just from looking at patterned paper patterns as well, patterned paper patterns. That's a mouthful. Okay, and then the final sheet from the paper pad is this gorgeous, again, overall kind of green, gorgeous dark green pattern, although it is like distressed and speckly. It's not like solid green. It has got a little bit of texture in there, which I think is really lovely. And then you've got a random dotty pattern. You can see in here there are actually like stripes of dots with randomness in between them, but it is quite a nice overall random pattern. But if you wanted a border of dots on your card, you could just like snip out this kind of a section where you've got those straight rows of dots in there to get a little border out to go on your card, and you can also like rip into these papers to give you extra little layers and stuff as well. And then the final pattern again is a kind of candy stripe sort of a look with the red and the green, but you're using like different sort of stitches. So you've got really thin green lines, and then you've got that really fine red running stitch, and then you've got like a long running stitch with 2 dots on it as well. So a really lovely subtle kind of pattern that will recede into the background nicely, so that your sentiments will sort of stand out from your background as well if you're just using patterned paper, which is really nice. And also having the straight lines within a patterned paper, if you are going to like chop this down and use it as the main panel of your card front, you can make it look more unique or more to your taste by adding like thin strips of the pretty cardstocks that we're getting in this kit to sort of hide some of the detail, but add in like extra gorgeous sparkliness or a metallic kind of look as well. I think that would look really lovely, just embellishing a patterned paper with the thin kind of strips of cardstock too. So that is the Santa's Workshop 6x6 paper pad. Then the next thing you're getting in the kit is a little baby Nouveau hybrid diamond ink pad in Shamrock green, which is one of the ones that is in the 3-pack from the Santa's Workshop colour trend. There's also a red and a white pigment ink pad in the 3-pack, which is really exciting. But it's a gorgeous colour, this one. And the hybrid ink pads are fantastic because you can stamp with them onto your project, and then you don't have to think beforehand if you want to use a water-based product or a solvent-based product. You can actually use both with it, which is really lovely, and the ink won't budge. So for example, if you have you know, like built up a background and stamped some of these colours, stamped some images in this colour over the top of it, and then you decide you want to ink blend, or you want to splatter some water onto it, or you want to draw some like faux bokeh effect with alcohol pens, whatever you throw at it, it doesn't really matter. It's not going to budge the ink, which is really nice, because sometimes you decide you want to splatter water onto a background because you've added ink blending, and then the ink that you've used to like add extra stamping on there is a really water soluble ink, and then all of the images bleed because you've added the water. But with this kind of an ink pad, you don't have to worry about stuff like that, so it's fantastic. And you also get lovely smooth impressions from their hybrid ink pads. I do tend to use mine on my stamping platform, just because I've had so many of my Nouveau ink pads for such a long time, like since they came out, that they are getting a little bit dry. So just in case, you know, I accidentally use an ink pad that is dry and I try and stamp it with an acrylic block, I don't want to not get a crisp impression. So I do always tend to use my little baby ink pads, whether it's the Nouveau hybrid ones or any little baby ink pads. I do tend to use them with a stamping platform, just because then I know I can stamp it 2 or 3 times if it is a dry ink pad. But obviously you're getting a lovely juicy one as your ink pad in this kit, but I just thought I'd mention that to you. That's why I'm always using a stamping platform with little baby ink cubes. So that is the ink pad that we're getting in the kit. Then we're also getting a little embossing powder sample, which I have actually used, and there's still quite a lot in here, so it does go a long way, these tiny samples. And this one is called Sugared Strawberries, and it is a beautiful red that is packed full of glitter in there as well. And I said recently in a video, cannot remember which one it was, but when you're working with a sparkly embossing powder, you want to make sure you shake the pot up before you sprinkle it out, because that way the embossing powder and the glitter glitter will have mixed together, so you're likely to get a combination of them onto your sticky ink, and that way the embossing powder will melt and hold on to the glitter. If you've been using this little pot, I mean, for example, if you're working on a project and you want to do lots and lots of stamping with it, you're going to be, because it's a small amount, you're going to keep putting it back in the pot and tipping it out again. But just make sure when you do that, that you put the lid back on and shake it up again, because I'm sure you've probably noticed when you're working, actually let me just show you, but when you're working with a glittery embossing powder, for example, pretend I've got a project down here and I've tipped some out and I'm working with it, and then I go to put it back in the pot, you will notice, hopefully you'll see it on the camera, that as you're tipping it back in, the glitter wants to stick to the paper more than the embossing powder does. So if we tip this back in, you'll notice that all of that on there is pretty much just glitter. I don't know if it's going to catch the light. There we go. It's pretty much just the glitter, not the embossing powder. So if you then tap the rest of that in, and I'll hopefully be able to show you. Oh yeah, you can see it, hopefully. So if I show you that now, all of the glitter is now on the top, not the powder. That is a big pile of glitter. So if I then took this and dumped it out onto sticky embossing, basically the glitter is going to stick first. So then when you go to apply your heat tool to it, it's just going to fly off because the glitter hasn't got any like melting capabilities. It's just the embossing powder that melts and encapsulates the glitter. So I'm hoping that's a good explanation for anybody who's struggled with glitter embossing powders. But I do really love Tonic's glittery embossing powders. They give such a beautiful effect. And although this isn't like a really fine grade embossing powder, it does work quite nicely for the larger word stamps in this month's kit as well. So that is the little baby sample of embossing powder, and this, you know, you can get in a full size. If you do like it, you can get this in a full size when the colour trend comes out. I'm not sure what month it's coming out actually, but anyway, after this kit has come out, the full colour trend will come out at some point, and you would be able to get a full pot of this if you did want it. Then the next item in the kit is a kit exclusive, which is a vintage drop. So this is one of their Nouveau vintage drops, which come in this rectangular kind of bottle with a hexagonal top to it, and it's got this kind of almost looks like a perfume bottle to give it that kind of vintage feel. And it also has like nice little squeezy lines down the side as well. And this colour is called Red Alert, and it is an exclusive colour to the kit. So the only place you're going to be able to get this gorgeous Red Alert colour is by getting craft kit number 44. But it's a beautiful colour and goes absolutely perfectly with this colour trend. One of the pearlescent papers in particular is like an exact match for the colour, so really, really gorgeous. And I've got some that I made earlier onto the backing sheet from some double-sided adhesive sheet, and you can kind of, I think they've been dried for more than 48 hours. You can see that gorgeous matte satin kind of effect. So the paper that they're on is shiny so they don't stick, and you can see the kind of matteness that they look against this paper as well. So that is the gorgeous look of this Red Alert vintage drop. And as I was just saying, the vintage drop dries matte, so it's kind of a satin matte sort of a finish, but on the back of the bottle it does say the full matte effect is visible after 48 hours. So you know, you can either pre-make them so that you know what the matte look looks like before you stick it on your card, or you can you know, put them on the card and then wait a couple of days and then you'll see that full matte effect of the vintage drops. Then the next thing we're getting is, and this is one that I don't know if it's an exclusive or whether they're going to start bringing out ribbon, because do you remember we had washi tape, I think 2 or 3 packets of washi tape a little while back in different kits, and that was never available like to everybody. It was just in the kit as an exclusive, so I'm not 100% sure if this ribbon is exclusive or whether they will be bringing ribbon out. I'm not sure, but this is a gorgeous spotty grosgrain ribbon, so it's a gorgeous red tone that is like perfect for this Red Alert vintage drop and some of the papers and cardstock from the kit as well. And it is a lovely grosgrain with the white dots printed on top of it, and it's a really great quality as well, and the dots are all nicely printed. Sometimes you get grosgrain and the dots are like a little bit patchy, or parts of them are missing, or they're half sort of coming off the edge of the ribbon, but this is a really nice quality one. And it is, let me tell you the width, so it's 5/8 of an inch or 1.5 centimeters wide ribbon, just so you know. It doesn't actually tell you how much is on this little sample card, but I did do a rough guess, and it's about 2 meters that you're getting on there, which is really lovely. So if you're only using like small amounts across like the width of a small card, it's going to last you a long time. Or if you're going to use it on tags and stuff, you could use a twine to go through the hole and then just add a small amount of this spotty ribbon, and then it's going to go a long way as well, which is really lovely. Or if you wanted to be extravagant, you could just use this whole piece to wrap a present as well. So really nice bit of ribbon there. And then the final thing from the Nouveau for this month's craft kit is 2 different confetti, sequins or glitters. So there is a set of 4 for the Santa's Workshop, like all of the colour trends recently. We've had a set of 4, and you're getting a random selection of 2 of them. So I got Falling Snow Glitter and Starlit Snowflakes. These are fantastic, these snowflakes. I don't know if you got the Let It Snow pack of confetti. I think it was just confetti actually. I think it was, and there was a gorgeous pack of snowflakes in there. They are the same as those snowflakes, however, instead of just being silver, you've actually got a mixture of silver and clear iridescent snowflakes in the same packet. So whether you're going for a silvery Christmas card or even a goldy kind of Christmas card, you could use the iridescent ones on a goldy card and the silver ones on a silvery card, or both would work on a silvery card. But basically you've just got like an extra option within this pot, but they also look fantastic together and incorporated with the glitter that I got as well. They look marvellous all together like that too. So, and I've done that on a card to show you as well. But the glitter, I know there are quite a lot of like white glitters within the Tonic range, but they are actually all different. And this one, it's similar, I'd say, to the diamond glitter, which has like the pink and green sort of reflectiveness to it. But this one kind of looks more like silver and green in there. So it goes absolutely perfectly with the snowflakes, but it's also another type of a kind of whitey sort of glitter than any of the others that we've had in the Nouveau range before. So those are the 2 that I got, but the other 2 that you might get are Christmas Magic Glitter, which is a gorgeous deep red. Really lovely. I haven't opened this. Or have I opened this one? No, I haven't opened it yet, but I will show you the glitter up close. So that is the gorgeous glitter. Really, really lovely red colour. Goes really nicely with the glitter card sheet that you're getting in this kit that I'll show you in a minute as well. So that is another option that you might get. And the final one that you might get is gorgeous. I love these sequins so much. It's a set of sequins, and they're called Candy Cane. Yeah, they're called Candy Cane. And they are in 3 different sizes, I think. I don't think there's 4. Yeah, I think there's just 3 different sizes. But they're actually a bit bigger than some of the other ones that are in a triple kind of size. But look at them. They're silver with red stripes on. Isn't that so cool? You've got like stripy sequins, and they're really good quality as well. Like so many of them are actually perfectly round with the gorgeous indents around the edges. They're actually really lovely quality ones, which is really nice as well. And they're so unusual. Like I don't think I've ever seen like a full pack of stripy sequins. I've seen like multi-packs where you might get like the odd sort of stripy sequin in there, or like weird embossed kind of sequins and stuff, but I don't think I've ever seen a full pack of stripy sequins. But they are really, really gorgeous for all of your Christmas cards. And that Red Alert Nouveau drop would look fab, like a little dot of it in the middle as well, if you wanted to cover up the hole. But really, really lovely. So basically you will be getting a random selection of 2 of these 4. So you might get these 2 like I got, you might get the other 2, or you might get a random mixture. I mean, I would think that they would give you a glitter and either the confetti or the sequins. So I'm hoping that would kind of be how you got them. But if you got the sequins and the confetti, I'd say you're pretty lucky, because those are like the 2 best ones out of the set. But yeah, those are the 4 that you will get a random mixture of 2 of. So really, really lovely. I love them. So next we've got all of the cardstock. And we actually get 8 sheets in this month's kit. Let's make sure I just got them all out of the... Yep, I did. Good. So we get 8 gorgeous sheets in this month's craft kit, which actually we don't always get 8 sheets when we've had a 6x6 paper pad. So that's really nice and generous in this month's kit. And there are, how many new ones? 5 new ones. 5 new cardstocks that are from the Santa's Workshop colour trend. So the first one is the classic card, which is called Pine Tree Green, which has that gorgeous embossed finish on one side and then is lovely and smooth on the other side. Then we have this next one, which is called Santa's Hat, which is an embossed specialty card, and it has a really subtle pattern on it. I'm hoping the camera can get it, but it almost looks like little, you know, when you use like paint combs on a jelly plate or through paint and stuff, and you get that little stripy kind of effect, or like a grouting tool or a plaster tool, you get those little stripy effects. It's like tiny little different directions of that. I think you can kind of see that on the camera, but it's really beautiful colour. This is the one that's like the perfect match for the Red Alert vintage drop that you're getting, and also will go fabulously with the ribbon as well. So that is the next sheet. Then this one is fantastic. This is the Shining Spruce specialty cotton paper. You might remember the Christmassy colour trend, I think it was called Merry and Bright, from last year. There was a red version of this as well. So they've now got the beautiful green to go with it too. So it's basically like their normal cotton handmade papers, but instead of having a pearlescent finish, it has a metallic finish to it. And it's actually a black paper, but then it has this gorgeous distressed sort of foil effect all the way over the top of it. So it's not perfect. You can see little bits of the black through, but I think that just adds to it. It looks really lovely, and you could probably even take some light grade sandpaper to it and like bring out a little bit more of that black if you wanted to as well. Or you could even attempt to colour tint it with a mousse and stuff too. I'm not 100% sure how it would take over the metallic finish, but you know, it's worth giving it a try as well. So that is the gorgeous Shining Spruce, which is, I really love that one. Then this one is fantastic as well. This one is called Ice Rink, this one. Isn't it beautiful? It is, again, it's like dragging a comb through paint, but in both different directions to give that cross-hatch kind of look. And it's a different, like, cross-hatchy effect than that's on their, like, classic cardstock. And it's quite a deep kind of a look to it as well. It feels nice and textured. And it has a gorgeous, subtle gold pearlescent finish to it. So it's not actually white. It's got, you can see that gold reflecting off of it as well. Really, really pretty, this one. And it's called Ice Rink. Then the final one that is a new cardstock from the Santa's Workshop colour trend is a foiled craft card. So this is a white craft card with red foil on. I think this is the first time they've done red foil on a craft card, and this is called Candy Stripe. So gorgeous red and white stripes, but really lovely, this one. I really like this one. And it's a nice weight as well. I think the other craft cards were a bit thicker than this, but this is a really decent kind of weight, and would work nicely for a card base as well if you wanted to use it for a card base, or just using it, you know, to die cut into too is fabulous as well. But that red foil on there is absolutely beautiful, and again, all of the reds go perfectly together. Even though they're like slightly different shades from each other, they all go really, really nicely together. They coordinate really well. And then the other 3 sheets of card are ones that are already existing on the market but go perfectly with this colour trend. So this is the Seafoam Green Holographic mirror card, or their Iridescent mirror card, which is really, really pretty. It's got that lovely rainbow effect in it as well, but it's a really nice green tone. It's sort of nearer to the ink pad than some of the other pattern papers or cardstock that's in here, although yeah, it goes, all of them go really nicely together. It's maybe slightly more muted than the cardstock and the ink pad, but they go really lovely together. So that is the Seafoam Green Iridescent cardstock. Then we have one of their double-sided pearlescent sheets of cardstock, just to give you like a nice white neutral to sort of help your sentiments stand out when you're die cutting them. And this is just the pearl white pearlescent cardstock, so really lovely and useful, this one. And then the final sheet is one of their glitter cards, which is the Ruby Ritz glitter card. Really, really lovely, and it's their non-shed glitter card. So I mean, there's like tiny, maybe 2 or 3 specks of glitter on my hand, but it hardly sheds compared to some glitter cards that are on the market. But it's not encapsulated, because you know sometimes you get glitter card that's got like a thin plastic layer over the top to stop the glitter from coming off. But in those cases it's hard to die cut it, but because I don't know how they do it, but because they've managed to get the glitter to stick really well, so it's non-shed, but they haven't encapsulated it, it then die cuts really well. So even like fine details, you can die cut with this, well, you can die cut from this cardstock. So really lovely, sparkly Ruby Ritz cardstock as well. And oh, actually, yeah, let me show you it in a comparison. It is almost like the embossing powder in card form. So you can see they go absolutely perfectly together. So you can like emboss your sentiment and then have it matted and layered onto this, and it'll all work in perfect harmony together, which is lovely. So that is the 8th sheet of cardstock. And then finally, what you've all been waiting for is the stamps and dies from this month's kit. And as I said at the beginning, they're all kind of sentiment themed. There's a couple of little stamps in here that aren't actual sentiments, but it's mainly just like a sentiment sort of a set. And if you're looking at this and thinking, those words kind of look a little bit familiar, well, there was a craft kit that came out, well, looking at the numbers, it was quite a while ago now, probably more than 2 years ago, but craft kit number 19 had these beautiful words in it. They were like, what does that one say? Hello, believe, dream, just, and then with love. And this was a really popular craft kit. I've had a few people ask me, you know, if Tonic were going to bring out any more dies like this, and they've heard your like pleas for more dies like this, and they've brought you a Christmas version, which is really lovely. So before we had more like inspirational kind of words and, you know, a couple of sentiment sort of words in here, but now in this month's die set we've got Christmas words. So we've got Christmas, so they're like more like typographical above and below each other to make them more easy to use on like a portrait card as well as a landscape card, which is quite nice. You've got Yuletide, you've got hope, love and peace, and then you've also got holidays. So it's just sort of split so that you can fit it nicely on a portrait card. But they do, they look really lovely being in this stacked kind of way, and it's really different to a lot of other kind of Christmas word dies that are on the market. So you probably don't have anything like this in your stash, which is really lovely. So let's look at the stamp set first. So this is the stamp set that goes with it, and you can see there's some gorgeous words in here. Again, a few words that are not just for Christmas, so like happy and wishes. If you have a birthday word die, you can use these 2 stamps in conjunction with those word dies that you might already have as well, which is really lovely. So the words we've got are cheer, which you can actually add the S from wishes on the end and make it cheers if you want to do that. You've got happy, wishes, and then merry as well. And so you can combine these: Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Christmas wishes, Christmas cheer, Yuletide wishes, Happy Yuletide. You know, there's loads of different ways of combining the words with the sentiments. And then there is also some extra smaller sentiments as well. So you've got love, joyful, peace and hope, which would mix and match really nicely with the individual words that are in the die set. And then you've also got have yourself a, and then you can do merry. Oh no, well, you could do merry actually. You can do have yourself a merry little and then Christmas, or you can do have yourself a merry little Christmas, depending on how big your card is and what you can fit on there. And then you've also got wishing you a joyful Christmas, joyful Yuletide, joyful holiday, wishing you a happy holiday. Loads of different combinations of mixing and matching all of these little sentiments in there as well. And these ones are a really nice like tall skinny font, which is, you know, really different to what the dies look like and what the CRaFTi stamps look like, which is nice to sort of mix and match the different fonts and stuff as well. And on some of my samples I have also mixed in some Dymo labels too, just to you know, in some cases you might not want a large happy with the word or a large merry with the word. You can actually just, you know, bring in stamps or a Dymo labeler or a label maker or other dies that you have from your stash, or other words from different stamp sets or kits and stuff as well, which is really lovely. And then as well as all of those, you've also got like little extra accent stamps. So you've got this little one here, which is a little line with a kiss in the middle. You've got a swirl, which you could stamp in 2 different directions to, you know, mirror the sort of design. You've got a tiny little doodled heart, you've got a doodled star. These are the kind of ones I was saying would work really nicely to embellish the patterned papers in the paper pad as well as the solids version of the star, which is actually the same size, so you could stamp that in black and then stamp over in the green, or, you know, vice versa, whatever you want to do. You've also got a tiny little snowflake in there as well. You've got this lovely one, which is a gorgeous dotty zigzag, and they've designed it really cleverly. So this last dot up here, it's missing from over here, so when you line them up, that dot will perfectly fit above these 3 dots up here, and it's really easy to line up as well. You've also got a solid little heart, which matches the outline heart. You've got this 6-pointed solid star and the outline version of it, and then a gorgeous little solid Christmas tree with a star on top. And I actually used this zigzag stamp with the Christmas tree and happy, and then heat embossing that, and little thin strips of paper to create a completely different background for one of my cards. It looks like it's a patterned paper, but it is actually created from all of the little stamps from the set as well. So I think that's a really nice way of using these. And then I will show you an up close of the die set as well, so you can really see what's going on with all of the dies in here. I have used all of them, so you will see all of them cut out. I think I used all of them. Oh, I might not have used Hope actually. Maybe Hope I haven't used, but I think I've used everything else. So you have in here a gorgeous, lovely, large tag, which will fit nicely on your pattern papers, so you can use the pattern papers to cut them out, which is really great as well. I'm not sure how wide it is. It's less than 3 inches wide, so you could get 2 of them out of 1 sheet of patterned paper, so that is really nice. It is 2.5 inches wide, so, and then it's also about 4.5 inches. If you take, you know, if you don't count the hole on the top to the bottom, it's about 4.5 inches. So really nice, decent sized tag that would just be used as a gift tag, or you can stick this on the front of your card as well. You can, you know, choose how you want to use them. Then as well as the tag, you've got this gorgeous banner, which is stitched all the way round. The tag is also stitched all the way round, even round the little hole on there. And then you've got this banner, which is squared off at this end, and then you've got the fishtail at this end with the stitching design. This one makes a lovely gift tag as well. You can just punch a hole up here and it makes a gorgeous gift tag. You've got 2 layering banners, one with a dotty edge and one just with a straight cutting edge and no like dotted or pierced detail. And these will be perfect for all the smaller little sentiment stamps in the set. You've got multiples of these kind of dies that just cut into the card, which again you can use to really like amp up your patterned papers and stuff, to really give different sort of designs. Or if you were very careful with your Nouveau drops, or maybe if you're using a tiny little embossing tool, you could try and like do Nouveau drops along these as well. So you've got a small little zigzag, you've got a kind of wavy one, and then you've got 2 longer ones that is just a piercing detail or a slightly wonky kind of stitch. It's like a hand-drawn stitch, which it's also hand-drawn stitching around these dies as well, which is really lovely. And then the main thing of the die set is all of the words. So you've got Christmas, and this has got like a chevron or a zigzag running through the middle of the word. You've got Yuletide, where Yule has got not quite flowers. Well, I suppose they're stars, aren't they? Yeah, stars. You could stick the snowflake sequins over the top of those if you wanted to make it look more wintry as well. I think it's actually stars and dots on this. So that is the pattern in the Yule. And then in Tide, you've got a gorgeous like wavy, as if like the sea, tide of the sea, with the wavy kind of design. Peace, again, you've got another wavy sort of design in there. Holidays, you've got a gorgeous zigzag, but all over, not just one zigzag, it's a complete design. love you have a little wave going through the middle of love, and then hope you have a kind of like diagonal zigzag design. And depending on how you cut these out, like what colours you use, whether you shadow them, what colour you're layering them onto, sometimes it is a little bit difficult to read what they say, but I'm going to show you a couple of ways of the like different levels basically of how you can colour or snip bits out of them to help them be a little bit more legible depending on how you're cutting them out, if that makes any sense. I think I did that in the other video with craft kit number 19 all those years ago, and I think people found it useful to see that as well, so I will be showing that on some of my cards too. So that is the die set, and I'll be back in 1 second with all of the samples that I've created as well. Okay, so I've got quite a few little samples to show you. I've got a few different tags and then 4 different cards as well actually. So firstly, let me show you the 2 different ways that I was just saying about how you can try and make them more legible depending on how you've used them. It just so happens I did it with the same die both times here, but basically you can either colour the interior pattern so that they kind of merge into the background colour that you've used, or if you're good at cutting out and you don't mind fussy cutting, you can actually snip away the pattern as well rather than colouring it in. I think maybe it's easier to colour it in, especially with like small bits up here. You can see I didn't snip that bit away, but in here I've coloured it because it is part of the H. But it just gives you a different effect and can be useful to help add a different colour back in. So on this one I have cut the outline holidays word from white and from craft, and then I've cut the backing piece for the holidays word from green cardstock. So you actually, I didn't say that, did I, with the I should have said that with the dies. So with these dies, with all of the words, you get this piece that cuts into the card. So if you wanted to do a shaker, you could just cut this straight into the card and have all the bits shaking behind it. But you also get the solid die as well to cut it out. So you can cut that out, or you can cut that out and then use this as a solid piece to back it as well, so that you can raise it up on 3D foam. I think I've done that in most cases. I've actually just used the backing piece as well. But you can also use this to cut an aperture, then cut this into a larger piece of card and layer it up behind it as well, which I'll show you on another one of my samples too. So I should have said that earlier, but I didn't. But here we go. That is like the difference between this one is colouring the intricate detail and then using the red paper behind to disguise or like to coordinate with it. So it doesn't look like a pattern over the letters as much. It's more like a tone on tone pattern, so that the holidays really stands out as a red word. And then on this one, I have left the green behind and made it look like the pattern is the craft card, and then the outline is in white, so it stands out more because the white is a lot brighter than the craft or the green, so it's standing out really nicely on that one. And then the other way of doing it is like cutting the aperture into a piece of card, which is actually the bottom half of the tag, and then cutting the green piece word into a larger piece of card and layering it behind. And this one I did also snip out all of that extra detail that was on the word piece. This was quite time consuming and it's not 100% neat, but you know, it just gave more area basically so I could see the shaker bits behind it, which is what I wanted. So overall it kind of worked. And also, if you don't mind not having the interior pieces of letters, you know, the little landlocked bits in the middle, you could have just skipped snipping those out as well and it would have looked just as nice too. So you can also do that kind of thing with them. These two are both using the words as they are. This one has got a drop shadow on it, and this one is just the, you know, cut from white mounted onto red. So that one is really legible because there is such a difference between the white and the red, and there's not too much pattern in this one. It's literally just that stripe across the middle. And then this one with the shadow, although this has a lot of pattern in it, it is still legible, but if you wanted it to be more legible, you could colour over this pattern to give more of this kind of a look. See, this, you instantly know that says holidays. This is slightly more hidden, but still looks really lovely, but it's just slightly more hidden within that design. So yeah, there's lots of ways of using these words. And then also on this one, I just coloured in the pattern on this one as well, but whereas this one is an overall pattern, there's more colouring to do, but this one is just that zigzaggy chevron that goes through the middle. So I've used the what's it called, Shining Spruce behind, and then I've coloured the chevron with a red alcohol pen, one of the Nouveau ones, I think it was 377, to like add that red colour on there to make it look like the whole thing is a pattern. And you see when you come further away, it's really legible as the word Christmas, because the what's that one called, ice rink cardstock that I cut it out of is really contrasting to the red and the green, so it's really legible. Whereas, you know, when it's got all of this pattern in it, it's not as legible. It is still legible, but it's not as legible. So depending on what kind of look you're going for, you can easily colour over the details. Whether you've done it in white card or a specialty card, you can still colour over all of the details. So I will walk you through all of these up close, telling you what I've done with them as well, not just showing you the different sort of techniques. But so I did these two little tags using that sort of Christmas tree looking patterned paper, and I also did some extra stamping on it, just using that little outline star with the green ink pad from the kit as well. Then I just used a hole punch to punch the hole in these tags. I've layered two together, one with the specialty paper behind and one with the patterned paper, layering them both together and then using the word stamp. So this is where I stamped the word cheer, and then I masked off the S from wishes and added it to the end. So you've got cheers, and then you've also got merry, and then because obviously the large Christmas word was not going to fit on a tiny tag like this, I just used my Dymo labeler to do the word Christmas, but that can easily be any other alphabets or words that you already have in stamps or dies. You can add that onto there. So that is a couple of tiny little tags. The twine is all from my stash, but it is Tonic twine. I'm certain in a previous kit we've had the jute twine, the brown twine, and because there's like craft within all of this, that twine would have worked just as nicely. I don't think they're properly selling the twine anymore, but some shops, online shops, still have it quite cheap, like 99p for a spool of it. So if you can find it, I think their baker's twine is really lovely quality, and it's always great. I'm always reaching for it to add a bow or to do the sort of ribbony part through a tag as well. So that is a couple of little tags, and then I did a couple of bigger tags. So two bigger tags. This one was cut from the foiled craft card and then the glitter card, and I offset them. And then this was one of the pattern papers and the Pearlescent white card as well, and just slightly offsetting them using foam tape to stick them together so they're not sort of loose and flying around. And I did add a tiny bit of the ribbon diagonally across this, and you can see what I was saying about embellishing a stripy paper. I've actually added the ribbon between the stripes, so it's going in line with the stripes, so it doesn't look like you've added it really, it looks like it's part of it. So with some of those stripy patterned papers, adding strips of any of the specialty ones would look really lovely with that. Behind the words on this one is actually that Santa's hat paper. It's really difficult to pick that one up on camera, but I think you just about see it there. It almost looks like fingerprints actually, when it's sort of hidden behind like that. And then I've just coloured over the white detail with the red pen, so it's really visible as holidays. And I could have just left it as Happy Holidays, but I wanted to balance the black that I'd used for the stamping, so I just did a Dymo label from all of us, so it says Happy Holidays from all of us. And again, a little bit of baker's twine to finish that off. And then this one is more sort of green tones, and then this one, because I had used the red pen to colour over the ice rink card and it's got that gold sheen to it, the red then wasn't looking like any of the other reds from the trend, so to make it match I just took a scrap of that ice rink card and coloured it with the red pen so that I could add a little red banner. I just cut that with scissors, but so that I could add it onto the tag to tie the red into the rest of it. And then again, balancing the black, I did Happy Christmas Wishes. So instead of just leaving it as Christmas wishes, I just added the word happy just to balance the black on there as well. I mean, I could have used a black and white twine to balance the black too, but I thought that would just go quite nicely. And I've also scattered some of the snowflake sequins in the background on this one. Oh, and I didn't mention on these two little tags, that is the vintage drop as well. I made them beforehand, like you just saw earlier in the video, and then stuck them on. Then this card is another one of the extras that I made, combining the stamps with one of the die cut words. So you've got peace, love, hope, and a really fun, funky kind of Christmas card using lots of little offcuts with my current favourite technique of using a double-sided adhesive sheet and then laying all the strips on. I'm sure you've seen it plenty of times in my videos, so I didn't film it this time. However, I did do something a little bit different because I had the snowflakes and that gorgeous glitter as well, and I thought they'd go really, really nicely together. Instead of covering the whole of the adhesive sheet just with pieces of cardstock and pattern paper, I actually took the backing. You can use red liner tape or normal double-sided tape, and as you're going along you place it in there instead of a strip of paper, and then you carry on the other side of it, and then when you get to the next place where you want glitter and sequins to be, you put it there, so that you've left sticky adhesive exposed, and then when it comes to the end you sprinkle on some of the sequins and then you fill the rest of it in with the glitter, and you get this beautiful kind of a look. And if you've done it straight onto the adhesive sheet and not stuck it to a piece of card, when you pull it off it's actually obviously see-through behind there because it's just a white glitter that we were using. So you could have stuck this onto craft card for a different look as well, and you would have had like a sparkly craft kind of look coming through there too. So that was one of the other samples that I did off camera. And then the final three are in my sped up video. So all three of these are in the sped up video, so you can see exactly how I was trimming out all of these bits and pieces. And this was the one that is the background that I created. So I started with the trees at the bottom. I did use my stamping platform so that I could try and move it along in equal distances each time. It was actually half an inch, so I moved the card half an inch, stamped it again, moved the card half an inch, stamped it again, and I did that in two different places to get the rows of trees. Then I added the zigzag stamp. That's just twice across there, and you can see, I don't think you can even tell, I can't even remember where the join was between the two of the stamped impressions. So it's a really great stamp for lining up, which is really nice, and it also goes underneath here too. And then in the other areas I'd left enough room to add that large happy word, and I've heat embossed that with the embossing powder on there as well. If you had a red pigment ink, it might look nicer if you stamped it in red and then heat embossed it, so that if there's any places where the glitter does like ping off as you're heat setting it, you would still see the red ink underneath it rather than using a clear ink. And then because I'd already used the happy in the background, I decided to just add the little happy as a Dymo label, and I layered it onto some of that Santa's hat cardstock because it matches the embossing powder and the vintage drop so well in colour. And then also in the background I've added thin strips of one of those patterned papers just to tie it all together and make it look like a complete design. And then the holidays in the middle is the one I was just telling you about, that's cut from white and then craft, and snipping out the white details so that the craft shows behind it as well. So I really like how that one turned out. It's really simple in design but really effective. And if you have, you know, the sort of stamps set up in your stamping platform, it's quite easy to sort of batch make these kind of cards as well. If you've made one and then you set it all up again, you know, you can repeat stamp lots of these kind of backgrounds. You could even, I didn't think of doing this, but if you lined up the Christmas tree, maybe put a ruler across there so you can get a straight line going up. Line up some of the other designs that are, you know, the same kind of width as the Christmas tree, or that wouldn't matter if they were spaced further apart, like some of the stars or the hearts. You could then stamp multiple lines at the same time. I didn't really think about that when I was doing it. I only really thought of doing the trees and the zigzag, but you know, you could build up different backgrounds doing that as well. Then this one I also did in the video. The background of this, I mean, a lot of the time we get a mousse or a sparkle spray or an aqua flow or something that you can use to create a really cool background, but in this month's kit we didn't really get anything like that because we had so many sort of pattern papers to work from. So I thought, well, I would usually like scrape a dream drop down a card, so why not try with a vintage drop? So what I did was I took one of the silicone spatulas and I just squirted some of the vintage drop onto here. You'll see this in the sped up video, but I squirted some on and literally just dragged it down the card, and I went back over a couple of times. And then I thought it looked a little bit too focus just in that one area, so I also squirted out a little bit extra, watered it down and then splattered it on as well to get some of the red splatter in there too. But while this bit was still wet after I'd scraped over it, I sprinkled in some of the sequins and glitter as well, and this would also look lovely if you had the red glitter. The red glitter sprinkled in there would be really nice. And then obviously if you didn't have the sequins, didn't have the confetti and you got the sequins, you could have like a little scattering of the sequins and just stick them on afterwards, because I don't think the vintage drop would hold them, but you could stick them on afterwards as well. And then for this one I did Merry Yuletide Greetings as my sentiment on here, again using the die mode to offset the black stamping that I'd done. I could have heat embossed that in red if I wanted to as well. I do just like the black sort of stamping for the focal sentiment, so I decided to go with that. But I think that looks really nice as well, and that is using some of the craft card from one of the card blanks just to use as the backing piece. So if you were going to cut up your card blanks, if you don't like to make small cards or you're not going to use them in that way, you can actually get 4 of this kind of sized one out of it. You can get 1 and then 2 and then 1 and then 2 on the back of it as well, so it's quite a nice amount you can get out of one card blank. And then the final card is a shaker card, and this is using that tiny little banner from the die set with loads of different colours of cardstock. That's actually all 8 of the ones you're getting in the kit. I cut 3 of each of them and then just randomly placed them all over the background. I can see looking at it now, this angle is slightly off. That goes off that way a little bit more, but anyway, it doesn't really matter. You can't really tell. It's because I didn't continue it all the way behind the shaker because I knew you wouldn't see it. But I think it gives a cool background. You could have even done it straight ways to make it look like a brick effect as well. And then this main rectangle is the bottom edge of the tag, and then I have layered the green card behind, snipped out all of the detail from it, and then put acetate on there, and then done it as a little shaker. And then I did as the sentiment, have yourself a, instead of using Merry Little and then doing Christmas, I thought have yourself a peace-filled Christmas would be quite a funny or different sentiment to do on a card as well. So I hope you enjoyed this unboxing video for Tonic Craft Kit number 44, which is either going to be called Santa's Sentiments or Santa's Workshop. And it's got some stunning products in this month's kit and really lovely colour trend. Like all of these products, if you go for this kit or whether you wait for the colour trend to come out and get some of the pieces then, I think it's just a really lovely, really festive colour collection that is going to just make you really happy to make your Christmas cards for this year, because hopefully this year will be a normal Christmas, and you know, you'll be able to give people cards in person as well. But I think they're going to be really lovely for creating your Christmas cards for this year. So I hope you enjoyed this unboxing video. The links for the kit will be below the video, and they are affiliate links, so if you do use any of my links, I'll get a small commission at no extra cost to you, and I really do appreciate you using them. It really does mean a lot to me for you to like take the time to actually click on my links, and I really love it when you comment and you say that you were waiting for my video so that you could use my link and stuff as well. It's really lovely. So thank you so much, and I will see you again in the next video. Bye!